What do you get when you cross a know-it-all newspaper columnist with an awkward, unsophisticated everyman?
Yeah. Well, I'm just not sure about that right now.
Welcome to Couch and the Rube.
Welcome to Couch in the Rube, our Monday afternoon show presented by our friends at Muskox Quality Flannels. If you want to look your best, feel your best, it is fall now. It's finally, like consistently, 50s in the morning, no higher than 60s. It is muskox weather. If you're going to a pumpkin patch or a football game, sitting in the backyard, chilling with friends over a beer or whatever it might be, Muskox is here for you. You will look your best, you'll feel your best. If you're trying to impress somebody and you're not that good looking, this is what Muskox is for. If you are single and thinking, I really would like not to be single anymore, and you're going to a gathering where you may meet people, this is why you get a Muskox flannel. Go to gomuskox.com, and you can use the promo code PEACOCK for $15 off your flannel purchase and impress the people in your life and feel good and look good. Jason, how you doing, brother?
Peacock?
I do hear your voice in my head when I take a shit. I mean, I felt all of Fred Human.
Big 10 plus his ass.
What's up, buddy?
How are you, man?
How is Michigan State football right now? They're keeping that field goal kicking MFer? Right? Down 28, kicking a field goal. We're going into the Michigan week, right? I just want to make sure. I had to ask you first.
Covering a spread is what they're doing.
Oh, okay. Did he admit that in today's press conference?
He was not asked about that.
I was actually trying to listen live. Thank you, WLNS, but it got broken up midway through. I did hear one of your great questions. But, yeah, I was trying to hear Jonathan Smith and how he was going to lift this team's spirits, building momentum off that fucking field goal that I still can't believe happened. Like, for, seriously, hours after, I think even yesterday, every once in a while I'd look over at T and I'd be like, he kicked a field goal. That's unbelievable. Down 28. Cover the spread.
Well,
anyway,
the reason he gave for it was that the kicker,
shucks.
no, Martin Connington had missed a field goal earlier, a 50-yarder, and the weather was getting bad, and he wanted him to have the experience in a game kicking in bad weather because that's what you're about to face. So that was the reason.
Bravo.
Yeah.
Jonathan Smith, that's good. Anyway, all right, I'm excited.
It was the presser today was interesting because he is very aware. Like, people talk about his lack of emotion and how much he knows and is invested in the rivalry, coming in, and just his lack of knowledge of it and how that showed last year. It's almost, and I feel bad in a sense for him because it's almost an overcompensation. And I'm not saying he doesn't care about it and he hasn't learned a ton from it. I had a conversation about that with him before the season when he talked about the arrogance of Michigan and things like that.
I'm not talking about Michigan.
He has experienced.
That's how
now.
You talk about Michigan right there. I'm not talking about Michigan.
Right, but he's just not a natural orator. So he's got these inflection points in his voice, and he's trying to really emphasize certain things and sound like somebody people want him to be. And man, the problem for him is that ultimately you got to be who you are. And the problem for him is I don't think Michigan State fans are going to accept that.
I don't think it's a problem if you're trying to be someone else, though. If you're just trying to get your team.
Well, I spent most of my
rallied.
life trying to be someone else.
Me too. Actually, I thought I was Mark Wahlberg in middle school. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I always wanted to be someone else. So I totally understand that. But when you're hired into a position like this, you can't really feel bad for a guy who's standing up there.
When you said you like when you were trying to be him, like, what did that look like?
Well, I was just trying to be a black guy. I mean, if you want to just cut the shit, I'm sorry. I don't know how else to tell you. Because Mark back in the early 90s was trying to be a black guy. And I thought I was always trying to be, like Jimmy King or something like that. I wanted to be anyone but myself. Because I thought those people were cool. Marky Mark looked like he was cool. Everybody respected Marky Mark. And
you and I grew up in the Fab Five era.
Oh,
so that's what
the Fab Five.
That's what cool looked like. Like Jalen Rose,
like our Beatles.
I don't know if they're the Beatles, but
no, I'm saying our Beatles.
Oh,
you know what I mean? When we were young, we would go out and try to emulate on the court because all I did was play basketball back in the day. So I wanted to be Jimmy King. My buddy was Chris Webber, and it's awesome. Great times. I want to go back to that time.
It's one of those things where I used to do. I used to pretend to walk with like pigeon-toed a little bit because some of the athletes.
Take a drink, everybody.
Yeah, it was John Elway, Andre Agassi, and Jalen Rose. Like I thought that looked cool, and so like that was how. And then if you look down at my feet, if I was trying to walk pigeon-toed, I was straight-footed because naturally my feet were kind of out wide. It just didn't have the look. But in my head, I was that cool. That's how I was.
We've established that we're idiots, and we've tried to be nothing but idiots.
Well, we're talking about
lives.
when we were 13 and 14. It's
absolutely. Well, geez, even now, I mean, I'm trying to be someone else.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to Jonathan Smith kicking a field goal.
Well, hold on. That was a story I would say worth telling. Presented by Midtown Brewing Company. You trying to be a black guy. Presented by Midtown Brewing Company in downtown Lansing with their next theme trivia night. By the way, Twilight Trivia, Thursday, October 30th at 7 p.m. You can jump on their Facebook page. Mark interested. You'll get more information from them. You can call and reserve a table for you and people. So if you're a Twilight fan and you want to take part in their theme trivia, they do a great job with these. Thursday, October 30th, 7 p.m., Midtown Brewing Company.
Who's the biggest nerd? Right?
Who's
those
that?
Things. Whoever wins that contest, right? You got to be a big nerd to win those.
To me, well, the interesting thing about the theme trivia is that it's all about knowing one thing really well. If you do like
90s trivia, that's me. I'm in.
Exactly. 90s music trivia, 90s anything trivia, 90,
celebrities from the 90s, like any of that stuff.
Yeah. Who won Wimbledon in '87? These are the things I excel at. But and they don't ask enough good sports questions. But if you go to like a general trivia, you got to have a wide base of generations of people, different knowledges, and other things, which they also do on Tuesday nights. Tuesday trivia at Midtown Brewing Company. Yeah, no, it was an interesting presser. Look, the situation is weird. It's what it is. I don't think this is.
Well, let's get into it.
Okay.
I mean, let me just ask you: Is this a must-win game for Jonathan Smith? If Michigan blows Michigan, what is it going to take, or is he here forever? Is he here for the rest of the rest of this season? Because I was expecting to not have a show today because he was going to get shit canned and you were going to be busy, and I was honestly asking you. And Couch was shocked last night. He's like, "Where'd you hear that from?" I know before him or something. I don't know anything.
Well, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen on Sunday.
Right, so that's what I was waiting for. But yeah, they wouldn't fire him Monday morning.
Why you wait around Sunday? Those sort of things always break on Sundays, at least to this point, usually. I do think he's more likely than not to coach the rest of the season. I don't think I think a lot of people misinterpreted my column where they didn't read it. They just read the headline because it was a subscriber column.
They thought you were talking about 28 things. Yeah. That would have been so amazing if you just listed 28.
There's a couple people. There's at least one on our listener hot takes, and there are people that think I think he should come back. Like, this is not in a trajectory in an era when you have to have momentum where it looks like it's going to work. It doesn't look like a fit. You just don't see the path. Doesn't mean I think he's a bad coach, but we haven't seen the good coach show up enough. And it's at some point.
But isn't it tough to feel bad for players, and especially in today's NIL when you're getting money?
But not everybody's getting a ton. There are guys getting good money. My point of the column was that I do think that if there is little or no advantage to making a move now, you ought to consider the impact it has on your players, including the 28 who chose to stick around through a regime change last time and went through that hell in 23. That's what coaching changes usually look like, not UCLA. UCLA has sort of gotten everybody up in a tizzy, like, fire your coach, you get the new coach bump.
Looks like it's fun.
It doesn't usually work that way. I know UAB had a win, so then it makes it worse. It's like, oh, look at UAB. You can always find examples. But all of those situations are situations where effort was part of the reason that a move needed to be made. When UCLA was just not playing hard, they looked disinterested, disorganized. And if MSU gets to that point at any point, you make the move immediately. But that's not what happened Saturday. Like, that was the number 3 team in the country that beat them by the same score as UCLA beat them a week earlier. That's a really good Indiana team. Now, maybe UCLA is just dynamite, and we'll see UCLA play Indiana.
Dynamite. 3 weeks ago, we were calling for their demise, and there was 12 people at their stadium. Like, I just can't believe that you can turn something around like that.
So so people shouldn't misconstrue me like endorsing the long-term viability of Jonathan Smith as Michigan State's head coach with what I think they should do the rest of the season. And again, that predicates on heads not dropping, guys still playing for him. If guys start quitting, if guys check out, if guys aren't responding to the staff.
Well, I thought Berger said there was guys were quitting
a week earlier, and that's why I didn't think he'd make it. This was not that this past week. And we'll see what it is this week, and we'll see what it is next week.
Is it because of the first quarter that looked like they were going to actually do something?
Well, they were playing hard. They just aren't very good. That's the problem. And so that there's a difference in those two things. I don't think that this team gets better if you can this staff. I don't think that's what's going to happen. Even if people like Courtney Hawkins, I don't think that's what's going to happen. One of the things that was interesting, and this will go into sort of I wanted to get into this in my takes here, is looking at the new transfer portal rules and really digesting what I think that means has changed my opinion on how you handle these situations. A year ago, I would have been much more up in the air about how long you wait and how quickly you had to move. Because it used to be that when the transfer portal opened for 30 days immediately when a coach was fired for that team. And even though they're in the middle of the semester and they can't really leave, they could say they were going somewhere, they could talk to schools, they could basically, their life became about what was next, not that team anymore. And that wasn't healthy. But now the transfer portal opens so if you fire your coach at Florida, for example, where they just fired Billy Napier, the transfer portal opens for them 5 days after they announce their next coach. So there's still going to be tampering. There's going to be guys getting a hold of them and all that stuff. And I think it's worse if you already get rid of your coach, especially while everybody around here thinks Jonathan Smith is on his way out. You don't hear that in the national narrative as much. It's not one of the jobs that people go, this is definitely happening the way people feel about it with Luke Fickell and Wisconsin and other things like that. So if you make the move now for this team and the players in the roster, and it becomes about what they're doing next, and it'll be a lot of tampering. It'll be a lot of I think the team will fall apart. Whereas even if you don't want Jonathan Smith to come back, which I think is the prevailing sentiment now, it's not just Twitter, because sometimes what we hear on this show is one thing, but then what I'm getting in emails from a different crowd is different. I think the prevailing sentiment is it hasn't worked. Even people who wish it had or like him or think, man, it'd be nice if he could have one more year. I think the prevailing sentiment is it hasn't worked at this point. But if you care about the program long term and the next guy's first year, because there is very little patience for this, and you have to turn this stuff quick, and the ability to retain key parts of a roster, I don't know that getting rid of Jonathan Smith before the end of the season helps that. Because, again, 5 days after the next guy's announced is when the portal opens. And if these guys are engaged with this program through the end of this year, I think they're more likely to still be gettable, to still be thinking about the idea of being at Michigan State when the next guy comes in and has a few days to talk to this roster. The rest of the transfer portal, which last year opened December 9th, doesn't open until January 2nd this year. It's a very different climate. Again, there will be tampering. There will be guys making decisions. There will be conversations. But in theory, it's going to be different. And I do think that affects, when you're trying to make a calculus here. Again, the second heads drop or guys just – heads drop's the wrong word, but guys stop responding to a staff. And again, you can see it when it happens. When UCLA had the makings of that. And that's why I thought he probably wouldn't make it, beyond a week or two, or Minnesota or whatever. Indiana was not that. But the second it does happen, or if it continues, then you have to make a move, because there's no point in hanging on to the person anymore. But that's not where Michigan State is right now. That's not where this season is. It's a weird situation because it's only a year and a half in. And this didn't used to be where you considered getting rid of a coach. And so you're in a different, usually when a coaching staff they can feel it in year 4. They know it's not going anywhere. The program knows it's not going anywhere. It's happened so abruptly that I'm not sure the mindset is quite the same.
But where
here.
do they think it's going? Like you mentioned nationally, like some people are talking about the Luke Fickell situation, but then you said that they're not even talking about Michigan State at all. That's not a good thing. And I think if you fire your coach, you get people talking, and then there's going to be other coaches that are available that are going to look at Michigan State differently if they're just going to keep their coach. If he beats Michigan, is that what we're saying? So if he beats Michigan this week,
look at it.
Then he's staying.
Look at it from afar. If you're a national writer, and again, national writers are people of very little perspective, are usually struggling to find relevance. So it's not always a good voice. But
you still need them to talk about your program.
What I'm saying, it has nothing to do with that. To me, it's not that Michigan State's become so irrelevant that people aren't talking about him. But Luke Fickell, Wisconsin football is equally irrelevant, and people are talking about it. Mm-hmm. The point is, it's happened so quickly. If you're an outsider, you're looking at Michigan State's program, and you're not paying attention week to week, and you saw Jonathan Smith had success at Oregon State, and you don't realize that the fit hasn't worked, that people are upset with the lack of emotion and connection and all that stuff. You don't realize that as much. And so what you see is a coach who took over a dumpster fire who's 18 games in, who had success somewhere else, who's 3-4. It doesn't look like it's not obvious to outsiders. It's not going to be obvious to outsiders, and I think that has some advantages in terms of going forward, having the guys feel like they're still invested in the program, having guys feel like they're not playing for a staff that's dead man walking. And again,
is it obvious to the local people around here? If it's not obvious to the national media,
I think it's pretty obvious around here.
So are we saying that you basically have to root against Michigan State if you want Smith gone? Because I feel if Smith pulls this off, it will show some momentum, I guess, for what?
I don't think beating Michigan is enough.
Okay.
On its own. Okay. I think beating Michigan and getting to a bowl game would be a different conversation. Okay. But again, I'm also one of the things I think I like about good leaders is that sometimes you fly in the face of conventional thought. And so a good leader, if you really thought if J-Bat really thought that Jonathan Smith deserved a third year, that this program could go somewhere with him, then regardless of what happens, he should, I won't say regardless of anything that happens, but regardless of record, he should stand up and say that, and you put yourself on the line a little bit with that. Likewise, if they go 6-6 and they reach a bowl game, but you've decided this just isn't going to work, it's just there's something missing in the fit, and you'd rather start fresh, then you have to have the cojones to make that move. Because that's what leadership is, and again, that's where it becomes cutthroat. The easy thing now, and I don't know if it's easy, is to watch them lose to Michigan and say, that's it, make a change today. If what's best for the program is to do it in a month, or if what's best for the program is to keep him, or what's best for the program if they go 6-6 is still to get rid of him. That's what leadership is, making the decision that you think's best, regardless of what Matt C. thinks. And we love Matt C., and I think Matt C. would be an interesting athletic director. But you
hire Matt C.
Yeah. Again, I do not think this is going to work. I do not think he will be the head coach next year. I just don't think it's a fit. It would be. I mean, there is a path to make things interesting, though. If they beat Michigan and they got to a bowl game, and you can see the path now when you look at Penn State, which is falling apart. It's 0-4 in the Big Ten. They don't have the quarterback. They don't have the coach. That's the way it usually works when you fire a coach. And then,
but isn't that the way you should do it in today's college football? Is to strip it down. If you're terrible and you have to move on and you have to get people in and out. I mean, my question for Jonathan Smith, if somehow the scenario you gave where he beats Michigan 6-6 bowl game, what does J-Bat talk to him about if he's going to bring him back? Are you going to bring your whole staff back, Jonathan Smith?
How do you?
Are you going to get rid of guys? Can you be cutthroat and get rid of some guys that are not working?
There are two parts.
Listen, I'm not talking about your boy Joe Rossi here. You can bring him back if that'll make you happy.
There are two parts of this, but half of this is on J-Bat if you wanted to do that. Half of this is raising the funds and having the mechanisms in place to fund a roster. It is. Because I'm not saying what's happening now. I'm saying if you chose to bring him back. If you choose to bring him back and you want momentum, half of creating momentum is creating a roster that doesn't look like this. Michigan State has a real talent problem right now, especially on defense. It's very, very evident. And they had zero pressures on the quarterback. Zero. I mean, that's not gonna work, right? And so that is a talent. I mean,
kick the field goal down 28.
I can't imagine there's a Spagnuolo, right? One of the best coordinators at the Kansas City Chiefs. I can't imagine any blitzing. I just don't know that any coordinator right now can get much more out of this group, because it's not like Joe Rossi's going home and going, just going to run the vanilla stuff, and, it doesn't work.
I know, but hearing this makes me want to just clear everybody the fuck out and start over.
Right, and that's
why I know, but see, that's what I'm just saying. As a fan of Michigan State football, it's just frustrating after, not to mention the other teams that I root for do this to me as well. So
and that's why you listen to fans, but you don't give them the say. Because if you have an AD who thinks that's it, clear everybody the fuck out. Yeah. If that's what you're thinking, then that doesn't
after
work.
Hearing you, I say that.
Oh, well, that's
right. I would just have to ignore you, and I would have more general, understanding. But when I hear you talk about it, I'm like, fucking get rid of everybody. I'm sick of these excuses.
I want to be clear about two things. One, I do not think this is going to work. I don't think he'll be the head coach next year. Okay. I don't. I think there's still a chance to make that be an interesting call for J-Bat if certain things happen, beginning with a win over Michigan. But I also do think, regardless of anything, that there might be advantages, not just in the 28 players who've been through this and the rest of the team and what a shit end of the season it is if you do fire a coach and you're in that perpetual transition, but also for the next coach. We talk a lot about D'Antonio and all the retention he had and how that helped his program going on. It's a totally different world than that. But if you're talking about retaining players that you want and having the ability, because not all of these guys are bad players. And whatever next year, a lot of whatever next year's team is going to be is still going to be from this roster, whoever the coach is. And I don't know that getting rid of the coach today improves the odds of having a better team next year, regardless of who the coach is. That is my point on that.
All right.
So, do you have a take?
Big night.
Fuego, gracias, señor. Vamos, Lions.
Vámonos, a ver, 1, 2, 3.
Vamos, Lions.
Do you have a take? Of course, man. Monday Night Football tonight against Tampa. Everybody's out injured, apparently. I guess Tampa has it worse than we do. Really sucks that Brian Branch is not going to play tonight. It's just going to be interesting what happens tonight, how the NFL screws us, right?
I think they're going to make up for it. In fact,
did you see that the Kansas City Chiefs are the favorite to win the Super Bowl now?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, the chat was going crazy on the YouTube before the show between Lucas and JR Jr., so I don't know what happened there. But anyway, Kenneth, going to his first Lions game tonight, asked for some advice. Kenneth, do not talk when the offense is on the field. That's the big thing. Do not yell or scream or anything like that. And then cheer when they're on defense. And then you have to hold up a sign on third down when you're on defense, too. So enjoy the game tonight, my friend.
Yeah, don't wear a Tampa jersey. That would be my best advice.
Yeah, don't do that shit
either.
Don't do
that, yeah.
Yeah, how dare you. Anyway, Lions tonight, baby. Let's go. I'm excited.
Yeah, no, it's a big game. It's an important game. It's a
must-win game, actually.
Swing
to
game.
Be honest.
Swing game. Different way than Michigan is a swing game for Jonathan Smith or UCLA or whatever it was for him.
Is Decker going to play tonight? When do they announce this shit? This game, that's what these games that are on it late at night, they take forever. They take all day to get here. I need injury updates. I need all this stuff. Anyway.
I have one more take.
Is Shohei Ohtani underpaid? That was my third take. Is that possible?
That was incredible.
That was unbelievable. I was so angry at because I had to get up early on Saturday morning, and I didn't watch the rest of that game, but then I woke up to see 3 home runs and 10 Ks from Shohei. I mean, good God.
Between the
give him Soto and Scooble's contract.
Between that game and the Boston University Michigan State hockey game, which was incredible. It was a Friday night with some good stuff. And by the way, MSU hockey is if you're looking for a place to just plant your self-esteem this winter, I would do there because that whatever
what about basketball.
Well, and I'm not saying basketball too, but I think the likelihood that MSU hockey is going to be a juggernaut this year is about 90%. That was an impressive series. My other take, and I just wanted to. This is something I was thinking about. It's a little interesting. So there's been that conversation about private equity in the Big Ten and all that stuff, and you can feel different ways about what they're trying to do there. I don't like private equity generally getting into college sports. The way this is set up isn't as awful as some of the things I've seen. And I don't know if it's going to happen. It sounds like Michigan and USC are really against it. But one of the most interesting components of it is that it would extend the media rights deal to like the mid-2040s. And I started to think about that. And this plays into my idea that college football is poorly packaged and often shitty entertainment. Take a drink. Why would you do that? You think about this. If the money was escalating and live sports is the place that the networks and streaming services are just stumbling over each other to put money and invest in, why would you lock yourself in the way the ACC did with its old grant of rights deal to anything? Unless you knew that the deal you got, it may never get better than what you have. I think they know from talking to TV partners.
I think $2 billion?
There are a lot of
Is that what they're claiming, I guess?
I think it could be more than that.
Oh.
More than that. I don't know what the breakdown per school is, and I think that's also interesting. I don't think it would be 100% even. But point being, I wouldn't, and people are doing the math, and maybe it makes sense, but I would not lock myself into a grant of rights deal. And I think, NBC, which has had some shit games, I can't imagine that they would just do that if they didn't think it's as good as it ever will be now, and that's a real sign of of something. I don't know what it is, but it's something to pay attention to, and I wanted to just...
Or they're scared they want to win now, so take the money and then apologize later. Because they seem to think that no one's going to want power and just people are going to hand you money without wanting something. That's what I was reading about the private equity stuff over the weekend. It's like, it's impossible that people just want to keep giving you money, right? With no return on it.
By the way, that Shohei Ohtani game and this conversation about watching games, but the Shohei Ohtani game, the most entertaining thing I saw this week presented by our friends at Xfinity. Go to Xfinity.com. Mobile, home internet, cable, and cable is still the best way. You can stream cable like I do. It's still the best way to get the most entertainment for your buck, I find. Everybody else is jacking up the prices. If you call, you'll probably get a better deal than what you have now. Go to Xfinity.com, type in your address. You'll see some of those deals as well. You can package mobile with internet and cable and get great deals, and they have the same coverage area as Verizon, but are able to give you a better price because phones aren't their thing. And that's what nobody really tells you, but that's where they make their money elsewhere, so they're able to give better deals on phones at Xfinity. Go to Xfinity.com, put in your address, see the deals today.
Thank you, Shohei, for kicking Jonathan Smith out of the top spot of most entertaining thing, kicking a field goal down 28 with 33 seconds to go. Shout out, Shohei. Just had to have one of the best games in Major League Baseball playoff history.
Incredible. And he got a game 7 now.
Which one? Yeah. Shohei or kicking the field goal? Which was incredible.
The field goal is interesting because I think Cignetti does like to cover the spread for his fans.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I think that probably annoys him.
Cignetti's on the other side of this thing.
Yeah. That's what I mean.
Would Indiana be excited if he was taking
I'm saying he was upset by it.
Probably. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, well, he pissed him off. All right. Anyway.
Do you have another before we get to the fan?
Fuck it, whatever.
All right.
Eric Schultz up first. Number 1, see? That's what it looks like when you just lack the players. Not 41-14 versus Rutgers. Not 38-13 versus UCLA. Not 24-17 versus Purdue. Not 34-7 versus Minnesota. Tucker. You've told me for 4 effing years it's just a matter of talent. Saturday showed the repeated abominations over the last 4 years we're coaching. And 2, I totally agree, Graham. You got to think about not hurting the feelings of 28 players. Forget telling your 60,000 season ticket holders, 63,000 donors, and 550,000 living alumni that you're not serious about football. No sirree. It's those 28 who got to be considered. And 3, I wish Graham was my boss. I could be objectively horrific at every aspect of my job for almost 2 years, put in a week of decent work when it looked like I was going to get canned, and Graham would give me 6 more weeks.
Welcome to corporate America.
And bonus. The amount of maybe we should keep Smith takes are scary. Being not horrific at your job isn't a reason to celebrate. It's the bare effing minimum. Before this, 7 of his last 8 games were massive red flags. He was fined for 1 week. This has been a disaster, and it's not going to end well. Move on.
Good stuff as always from Eric. I'm going to jump in a couple things here. Like I said, Saturday was not the example. He brings up good examples for games that were games where the talent was not the reason it looked the way it did. And too many of those have now been on Jonathan Smith's watch, and I've written that. I don't think it's going to work. I don't. I mean, do I like the guy personally? Yeah, but that matters shit, right? That doesn't matter anything. It has not worked as he has not been a fit. He is not connected. And the coaching acumen and competency that I thought was going to be there and still may be in there, but it just hasn't shown up enough to make up for the other areas, right? If you were California cool and you went 6-6 last year with a win over Michigan and you were 5-2 now and you beat Michigan this week and you're like, yeah, fuck these guys. I'm California cool, whatever. And you weren't emotional about it. That might play. It'd be an interesting take. We have to see. To the point about the 28 players, again, this is not me saying they should be first and foremost. Like if you need to make a change because in the middle of a season because players have stopped responding in year 2 under a guy, then you do it. This is not me saying he should come back. This is me saying it's something to consider if it doesn't help to get rid of him now versus the end of the year to make that evaluation. Then that's what I'm saying. And to the 60,000 season ticket holders, try that again. Mm-hmm. 63,000 donors and living alumni. I mean, part of the reason MSU is in this boat is it's not as much as, and I don't want to say people don't give because there are a lot of people paying a lot of money to be there. There are a lot of people who spend a lot of their hard-earned income, disposable income or whatever income they have to do this. But I would say to the select people who have great means, the lack of giving at certain points is helped them be here. So
you're saying they're not giving enough?
I'm not saying everybody, because most people don't have more to give.
Oh.
That's the problem with college sports as it is right now. Is you have to rely on this above, this. Most people don't have more to give than.
Should we start a GoFundMe then, or how do we get it? It seems like those GoFundMes really work. Like,
you got to tap into the base of people who do have more to give, and do better than they've done. And part of that comes down to the coach. And at this point, I don't believe those people are in on the coach.
Dominic next. Number one, Couch wants me to pay $79.99 a month for the LSJ, yet does the following today. Whines about listeners taking up his time. Doesn't have BJ's co-host partake. Misleads the public, claiming 3 shows a week. Endorse keeping this brain-dead staff because we barely covered a spread. 2, Graham, on my father's grave, if you start stumping for Jonathan Smith again, I will personally report you to the FBI and will formally address you as Baltimore Sun columnist Scott Templeton for good. It's okay to agree with the mob when the mob is right. Contrarian Clarence. And 3, arrogance and hubris ruin sports. See Scott Harris at the deadline. See Alan Haller getting on his knees repeatedly and playing the weak male character you claim to despise. See D'Antonio, I'm sorry, I thought you were waving at me. You claim to despise. See D'Antonio not partying with the warm glass of ball sweat he called an offensive staff. And bonus, Friday's pod was a top 3 pod. Graham doxing elevator guy, who I've confirmed is now in a mental hospital seeking treatment after losing his job. Is that true? Unbelievable, Couch.
No way.
As another one of Graham's countless victims, I mourn elevator guy. So you'll protect Max Bulla, but not elevator guy and I? Is elevator guy okay? Did you find that out? Did you see him?
It's and me, but yes. Sorry there, Dominic. You should.
This guy.
Sorry.
You censor this guy and change his shit. You're getting the balls.
The Max Bulla said, yelled what he did in a crowded elevator. It'd be a different situation. Yeah. So there's a lot to get in here. I guess
is he talking about that hit piece by Glickman?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
So there's an LSJ story on local podcasts that
I didn't find out about by my co-host.
I was just hoping it would just go away. I got to be careful because it was written by our publication.
Yeah,
but
Glickman.
I wouldn't say that the gist of my entire conversation made the piece.
It made the show sound so bad.
It made me sound like I was just like annoyed by the show, or not annoyed, but maybe
it's taxing at times. But
I was answering. So he asked me during a 20-minute conversation. He asked me, so with all the LSJ stuff and the show, how do you do all that? And I said, it's taxing some time, but we have a good time with it.
And it probably went on for 10 minutes.
Not the way it would look. No, it was bad. It was not great.
I did get a text from someone that was in the story and said it was nice to share a story with you. And I was like, I'm sorry, but what in the F are you talking about?
Yeah.
So it was nice to not even know about it, then read it, and then read one of the worst things I've ever read about the show.
The story's been a little bit adjusted.
Oh, okay. And then there's a picture of us in it, and not even called or interviewed or anything.
It will not happen.
Hey, who's this Rube guy? And then there's a little blurb about me. And I was like, oh, Jesus.
Not happening again.
Yeah. Anyway, are we done with that? Okay. Yeah. Kevin from Rochester Hills, MSU doesn't have a coaching problem. They have a talent problem.
Well, they definitely have a talent problem, but they have not gotten the most out of this group with coaching. So that then is both, and coaching is also procuring talent. Now, there is an argument that's that takes resources that MSU didn't have or whatever. But you got to develop guys, and and in year 2, maybe some of that's not fair. And again, we would not be here if they had won the 50-50 games or looked more competent or put it together in the 50-50 games. We wouldn't be having this conversation. There would be people still who didn't think they connected with Jonathan Smith or weren't sure about him or all that stuff. But nobody would be talking about this being the last year if they had just, against UCLA and Nebraska, looked like a team that was well coached, organized, and got the job done, and they were 5-2. Indiana was not going to be, not with this Indiana team right now, was not going to be the reason people were angry about them. Indiana just showed how far the gap is, which isn't great. Yeah.
Do you think Michigan State will ever hire another Jonathan Smith or John Smith or John L. Smith? That's even if it was a great candidate, you'd have to go, we can't do it again.
Probably doesn't happen.
Jonathan F. Smith. Mike DeShelter next. As much as MSU hit the ultimate portal home run with Kenneth Walker, our portal losses on D have decimated the program. Secondary could have Tatum, Mangum, Brantley starting as seniors now. Zion Young on the edge would have been tremendous also.
No question. And their inability to maintain these guys, keep these guys and pay them and all that stuff is part of the story. This is not completely entirely on Jonathan Smith. It's not. And so MSU needs to be, as they're considering what to do here, and if they're going to bring in somebody else, they need to be doing an introspective. They need to be making sure they've got their resources together and their shit together, not just to handle buyouts or whatever else is coming down the pike and pay the next coach, but to make sure that they are able to compete in a resource game year in and year out, going and getting guys and also keeping the guys they have in their program. And that's, the next person won't have any more success if you don't have that, get that done. Now, I do think, though, there are people out there that would excite and, would connect more with the donor base that would be ready to jump on board. And the other thing that's going to get really interesting is what all this looks like in the rev share era with NIL. And MSU has to be willing and ready to play ball, however that looks, going into next year. And
will they let the fan base know whether or not they're going to come heavy with some money?
Well, you'll see.
I think a lot of the fan base has no idea what they're what's Michigan State working with.
Yeah, but even Indiana doesn't know 100%. They think. I mean, from what
why doesn't Indiana know? Like I'm saying, okay, why doesn't any college let the fan base know?
Everybody knows you got 15 or 16 million. That's okay. Everybody knows.
So that's the base.
That's the rev share. Okay. Everybody knows that. The question is, beyond that, what separates you? Mm-hmm. The thing the rev share did is it raised the floor of everybody. It's going to make for much more parity in college football. If you're able to manage that 15 million really well, you're going to have years where you can rise up and have a good year. But the thing that's going to separate you is that next 10 million or more sometimes. But I think you got to be able to spend. And I think Indiana this year has 5 to 10 million more than Michigan State on its roster, and then it's got other things going for it. That shows up, and you've got to be willing going forward. Now, last year, these rosters were built with the previous, not just the rev share, but the old way of NIL and collectives and just pay for play and all that through July 1st. Michigan State did not have those resources at the level a lot of places did, and that's why they look like they do defensively. The question going forward, now that the collectives have sort of been disbanded, is what are you willing to do? And are you willing to give the NCAA, 2 middle fingers and say, no, this is what everybody's doing? Because there aren't going to be repercussions. You got to do what everybody's doing at the top to you got to be willing to do that. And, if you're not, then you got to just tell people you're not, but then let people focus on basketball and hockey and just not give 2 fucks. You can't do that because football pays for so much. But MSU has to make sure they're in a position to play ball.
Chris next. While getting boat raced by UCLA on homecoming should be a fireable offense, firing Smith would be an extremely risky choice, with Penn State and Florida already open, and the FSU, Auburn, and Wisconsin jobs also likely coming open too. Who knows what coaches would be left, let alone how much we could pay.
Yeah, but there are guys, and you can compete for them. There are
Trent Dilfer. I mean, where are you at?
But like
there's a lot of schools now that he mentions that.
Is Auburn a better job? Is Wisconsin a better job right now? I don't know that they are. I don't know that coaching Auburn is ever going to be. You talk about places that can be sleeping giants and places where you win. Like Auburn, yeah, Auburn has a passionate fan base that might have more money to get into right now, but you are always going to be on Alabama's doorstep. Like Michigan State's always going to be dealing with Michigan in the middle of the SEC. With a fan base that is, you think there's, if you think people up here are impatient, it's not going to be better down there. Wisconsin, I'd say they've been more consistent until very recently, but it's, I don't know that Wisconsin's a better job. It's not that you can't compete with some of this stuff. And there are certain guys that when that move is made, that you should, look, next year there will be jobs open too. This is the way it's going to be. And you can't hold on to a coach thinking it may be a better situation to get rid of them in a year from now. That means that once you've decided to move on, when the season ends, you move on, even if they go 6-6. And that's what I was pointing out before. Like if you decide this guy isn't the guy, then it doesn't matter if they make a bowl game. You have to make that move.
Bartholomew next. The MSU football program's down tremendously bad when I don't even care if Smith is fired or not at this point because our NIL situation is so crap that we could hire the ghost of Newt Rockne and we'd still have no way to buy the talent we need. Fix the NIL at all costs. See, that's what I mean, that you need transparency to know whether or not you should give a shit or not, I think.
Yeah, no,
I know they want to hide that from you if they don't want to spend. But if you sit there and have what'd you say, 16 mil is the basic standard starting rate.
But I think that's what Bat is doing. I mean, I would be stunned if a decent part of J Bat's day isn't talking with donors and trying to fundraise. I mean, I know of donors who have heard from him that hadn't been reached out to in a while previously. Like I know that is not something that is that is part of the reason he was hired. He knows the job. The reason I think this is really inconvenient for him in certain ways is not just because if you have to make a coaching change and a coaching hire, it puts you on the clock a little bit as an athletic director, but because I think even if he was thinking, I'm not sure on Smith, to have another year to sort of get this stuff together, to get your footing, to raise money and all that stuff would have been helpful. And now it just speeds everything up. But I can tell you I guarantee you he understands what's needed to be done in terms of having more money, and also to make sure they have the money to, if you buy out a coach, to buy out a coach, to hire the next coach. All that stuff takes money, and I guarantee you he's spending a good chunk of his time trying to make sure of that.
Adam Blond next. Is this all on Smith or the NIL handcuffed him? The way Coach D built our program isn't possible anymore with all the money being thrown around. Also, replace Rossi with Max Bulla.
So Max Bulla may be ready to be a coordinator. He has not been yet. I see some of the Max Bulla head coaching stuff. Like he is a linebackers coach at Notre Dame. That is like 33 years old. Again, there are guys who are capable of making that jump, and maybe Max Bulla is one of them. But rarely are they ready. This is the stuff that, I'm not talking about making him the next defensive coordinator being a jump, because that is his next jump from linebackers coach to coordinator somewhere. But the head coaching stuff is just the name recognition stuff. So, I think Max Bulla will probably have a really good coaching career, but he's a 33-year-old linebackers coach. That's a big jump to running your own program.
And is that something Smith would even do? Because we talk about his personality, and he can't change his personality. What if his personality is a loyal guy? Well, he doesn't want to get rid of his guys. So
I think with this team, I think they know there's not a lot more that can be done. Offensively, they're fine. They're doing their best they can with what they have. Defensively, I think you sort of are what you are. And when you fire a coordinator, it's because you think there's more to get out of a group. And I just don't think there is. I think the next coordinator would look just,
What about Lindgren?
The dudes are who the dudes are. I thought he coached a fine game. I thought he did a nice job.
He started getting the ball to Marsh.
Yeah, I thought
why not?
The game against Indiana and those two drives they had to start the game, which did a couple things. One, they kept Indiana off the field offensively, and then they scored points. But those were the two longest drives against Oregon against Indiana all this year. Oregon didn't even have a drive that long. Like that was a really effective drives. They do lead to the question, where was that at Nebraska, right? Because that was equally windy day in certain ways. Why was that approach, and why was he so, you got to be consistently good, and he hasn't been. But he's been good at times. And I think they did a nice job of. I went back through the second half because everybody's like, they only scored 13 points. They had a couple decent drives. They kept moving the ball the whole time. Yeah, they didn't finish drives. The game got away from them, but the offense is fine. The offense that showed up against Indiana, if that's the offense they have the rest of the year, they're going to be in a lot of games. They got a real shot at Minnesota. Michigan will be interesting because the thing about the Michigan game is that Michigan does not have the passing attack to run away from you where I really think you can hurt Michigan State. And they'll run over MSU to some extent, but I think Michigan will win both lines of scrimmage, but I think Michigan State's passing game, I don't think Michigan's better up front defensively than what Indiana is. Indiana's pretty good. And so I think Michigan State offensively can land some blows and have some drives against Michigan. And the real question is, what is Michigan's offense relative to Michigan State's defense, and just how much of a mismatch is that, and what does that look like? It has a chance to be a competitive game because the MSU offense has a chance to be a group that gives you a chance to equalize a little bit. And they were against Indiana for a while. Indiana's just at another level.
Cracker Sofa next. If money is the problem, why would MSU waste $34 million on a buyout when that's what elite programs are using to field their entire rosters, plus some?
Well, it's not that more. It's like if you watch House Hunters, the show on HGTV.
Yeah, missed that one.
You've never watched House Hunters?
I've never watched that. Unless I was getting my oil change. They have HGTV on.
So there's a lot of, first of all, it's all fake. The MSU softball coach was almost on it at one point. Look, it looks like you're choosing between three houses and you've got different options and renovations and budgets.
Are you breaking news that reality TV is fake?
It's bullshit. I watched like a year of House Hunters before I found out I was fake. I was pissed off. Pissed off.
And I'm the rube? What the fuck?
Yeah, no, I was late to the game and realizing reality TV was fake. I am a
It's been going on since the early 2000s, dude.
I was not happy. I stormed out of the room. I
think they just film it and go, oh, the people are naturally interesting and all that shit?
I stormed out of the room. Was not happy. Very few moments. The 3 times I have left the room angry watching a show are when House Hunters International, or the House Hunters and House Hunters International, when I found out it was fake. And I didn't expect it to be perfectly true, but I didn't realize that somebody had already bought the house. Like it was completely made up. That pissed me off.
Yeah.
And then there are 2 different shows, 2 different movies that ended in ways I was so angry about them. I think it's called Beer Buddies or Drinking Buddies with Jake Johnson. Hold on one sec.
God, you watch garbage.
No, it's a good movie. Drinking Buddies. Yeah, Drinking Buddies. 2013 movie, in the height of New Girl, as the show was going on. Anyway, when we watch rom-coms, or we watch movies where there's a friendship that's you're hoping becomes more, that better end in becoming more. They just wind up being friends. Those of us who went to high school, we've lived that relationship our entire life, hoping some girl eventually likes you, being in the friend zone.
Friend zone was the worst.
Why would you? Who greenlit this movie? Do not watch Drinking Buddies. Great movie. It just ends like in real life. Like nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. And then the movie One Day, where it's a movie they finally fall in love, and then she's killed by a bus on a bike in like the final scene. It's like, what is that? Why? Who greenlit that? Why?
Spoiler alert.
Nobody. Don't watch these 2 movies. Oh. Like who wants that experience? And so that and the House Hunters International are the 3 times that I've stormed out of the living room.
Where do you go?
I just walk around, go to the fridge, get a groovy donut, whatever it might be. Put on a
slam the door and like make an announcement coming back in, or like how does that?
Yeah, put on a muskox flannel, feel a little better about myself. Go outside, touch grass. But so anyway, that's a story almost worth telling, but told anyway. Good. Presented by our friends at Midtown Brewing Company. Again, October 30th, Twilight themed trivia for those Twilight fans out there. God, I don't even know where we're going with this. Hold on. I had a good point, though.
Oh, damn.
Shit.
Oh, man.
Shit.
Make you some more off?
Oh, the $34 million. Here we go. Cracker Sofa. Mm-hmm. It's not. So one of the problems with House Hunters is that it's like, you have a school teacher and a janitor, and their budget is like $780,000. You're like, how does that? That does not get me right. Should have known it was real. It wasn't real. But also, they're like, our budget is $100,000 on this because we're going to sell. Their budgets are weird. They're not. It's not like Michigan State is spending $34 million instantly, and that's the money that's going. It's paid monthly out to Smith. It's not like you don't. It's just not.
There's a reverse mortgage you got to do before you pay a coach.
Yeah, it's not like there's $30 million in cash that you're either giving to Smith or giving to a defensive line, and that's the way it works. It's just. I think the finances of it people aren't understanding entirely. I'm not saying.
No shit. I don't understand any of the finances that are going on. Right,
it's going to cost
NIL and
and that's why hanging on to Smith for the buyout doesn't make much sense, because it goes down by $7 million next year, but it's still a freak load of money, man. Like it doesn't. It's still you're still paying him out for a long time. If he's not going to be the guy, then you move on.
Is frick more than a bungload?
It's a bungload.
Oh,
exactly.
Okay, I had to ask. Kurt Wisniewski. I hope that Smith's presser on Monday demonstrates he knows the rivals 60 miles to the east. Every year, regardless of records, it's a big game for the program. For the love of my fantasy football team, Trumpy Blumpkins, show some emotion.
I love that's your name for your team, huh?
Don't Google that. Trumpy Blumpkins.
Oh my goodness.
Mine was Country Blumpkins back in the day. 2004, the Country Blumpkins.
I probably used that term incorrectly before.
Blumpkins?
Blumpkins. I'm pretty sure I thought it was
to a female.
To anybody.
Hey, do you think you want to try Blumpkin tonight or? No, I meant coffee.
Could have, yeah. I mean,
how did you use it?
I might have ordered it.
What are you talking about?
I could have ordered it at Big B. I don't know. I mean, it's I don't know.
Hey, can I get a Maca Yaka Blumpkin Grande?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thanks. By the way, so what do you think, Jonathan Smith? That's what my feed cut off of the presser of him trying. I think you asked a question about preparation for the Michigan game, and he talked about in the offseason he was telling players about the rivalry, which I didn't really buy. But I'm saying this week, what do you think? Is he showing players stuff to motivate them, bringing in D'Antonio for past rivalry stuff? I mean, what is happening?
I think the players are likely pretty motivated. I would be curious if a guy like Darius Snow, who's actually been a part of a win in this rivalry, who's been around forever. You know, there's some guys who've been around for a while. Most haven't been part of it. And you do have a lot of transfers that don't. I would be curious.
Bring in Solari and talk about the tunnel fight. You know, get some shit going. Solari can show him photos from his. Oh wait, never mind.
Well, photos. He meant to do video, right? They want to be in photos. Who knows?
Graham.
Yeah, still have that photo somewhere.
Smith knows the rivalry. The problem is,
does he?
Oh,
you think so?
Oh yeah, he's heard nothing but it. One of the questions I asked him today was if he had an estimation on like how many emails, interactions, everything with fans since last year about this game he's had. And
emails.
I don't
Do
know.
you think people email him?
Yes, I do.
What's his email?
I don't know. It's somewhere. I don't know.
Oh, you'll dox an elevator guy, but you won't give out.
I just don't have it in
Smith's
front
email?
of me. Do you want me to look up Jonathan?
No,
Smith's
it's all
email?
right.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't want him to get spammed, I didn't know that he had an email where you could, like a suggestion box or something. I've never heard a coach having that.
That would be amazing if you had a suggestion box, like an actual box right outside the football
Well, it's
building.
an email.
People just lining up, putting in their suggestions.
You think Smith is checking his email in the morning of like seeing Matt C firing off all this shit? I mean,
He's camping overnight, so they put another suggestion in the box.
have you received any emails? All right. I didn't know it was public knowledge of his email. Balky Bartakamus next. The idea that Smith needs time to rebuild might be a valid reason to keep him on if there was any sign at all of a season-to-season or game-to-game improvements. Our builder doesn't even have his blueprints done. Meanwhile, the guy next door already completed a mansion. And bonus. Remember back in August when Ken Manny had us all so optimistic? Good times, good times. Maybe they need to bring in Ken Manny.
Yeah, Ken missed on this one. These old coaches, but not everybody's
Trying to
perfect.
make people excited,
Nick Saban told Alan Haller that Mel Tucker was a guy to look at. Would be the guy, and not everybody.
Yeah, we don't have enough time for all of that.
Don't have. It doesn't always work. Look, and I like Ken a lot. Ken, I got to know Ken a little bit when I ran with the team in 2013.
I knew it.
Yeah. And he called me Quick Twitch.
I knew. I'm sorry. We've done this show too long.
Yeah, sorry. This one, sorry.
Marcus. When I ran with the team. Marcus, the level of frustration at the moment is because a program top 25 in revenue consistently fails to be competitive. Other programs manage to regularly achieve more than MSU with less. The majority of the blame today is because of either bottom tier Power 4 NIL or poor coaching. Or both.
Yeah, I mean, look, the situation stems from a lot of things. You can look back to the end of the D'Antonio era but I don't think his talent then was as much an issue as the timing of when he left. They get hit with the pandemic, but it's also that there's some tough circumstances too, early in the Tucker era, and they were sort of cutting edge with the portal early on. But then what they didn't realize, and a lot of programs were like this, is just how much money it was going to cost. I think the early days of NIL and and I would love to do a story on this if I could get these guys to talk. I don't think they would. But the early days of NIL at Michigan State and everywhere, when people just didn't have a concept of what this whole thing was going to be, the big donors at Michigan State, the Ishbias, the Greg Williams, the St. Andres, all these guys.
Hayoses.
I don't know if Hayos is part of this conversation, but but they thought it was going to cost $3 or $4 million to fund both football and men's basketball annually and NIL. And a lot of schools thought this. This is the 2022 conversation that's happening right now. And then there's the moment when Ryan Day says it's going to take $13 million to retain my roster.
So it's Ryan Day's fault?
No. Oh. But what I mean is that was a wake-up call to a lot of people. And then by then they had not, I wonder if they realized how much it was going to be, their approach was it's going to be $3 to $4 million. We can break that off and fund it. The idea that a lot of other donors weren't included, that this wasn't some massive fan funding sort of operation that it should have been. It should have been organized differently from the gate, was based on their expectations for what it was going to cost. And I think that, you stem there and you have your issues. And then, they've struggled to get there. One of my last conversation with Mel Tucker, in fact, was a one-on-one with him right before the season in 2023. And he was really frustrated. And I quoted him on it. Just that people want this to be a big-time program, but they got to act like it's a big-time program. The money was starting not to be there. And it was alarming to people that the money was. I mean, there was an issue. And so the issue has been there. And the question is whether they can fire up the troops enough to create the money that's going to be consistently needed.
Spartan Johnny, number 1, I refused to read Graham's article with 28 reasons because I couldn't imagine wanting to know 28 more things about this group. 2, Graham, how many times in your 28 things article did you mention Joe Rossi isn't really the problem? You're a pawn for Rossi.
Well, yes, this is an example of not.
Did Spartan Johnny not read it?
He did not read it. He did not read it.
Nah.
Well, he said he didn't. He said I refused to read it.
Oh, okay.
So I can understand why you'd think it might be that. The idea was it was 28 players on the roster who had been through this before, and if it wasn't going to benefit them to make a move now versus.
Did you name all 28?
I did not. I named a few of them in there, but yeah, I went through the whole roster because it was like. I was in my hotel.
If you went 1 through 28.
No, I did go through the whole roster because I had to count. You had to look at different redshirt years and different, who was where and all these transfers and guys you didn't realize were there and all that stuff.
Crushing tape. Spartan 18770 next. Graham, your Sunday article about the 28 players is a great read. If this were 2019. Every year since then, fan bases have been asked to adjust to the college football landscape. Coaches making $6 million a year. 18-year-olds getting $12 million NIL deals, home games played in cities miles away, forcing fans to spend on overpriced hotel and parking fees, asking the fan base to purchase NIL items and seeing that same player transfer the next year. Well, now coaches, players, conferences, and media networks have to adjust to the fan base expectations. You don't get 5 years anymore. Win 6 to 8 games a year in your second year and see improvement each and every year. This is what happens when billions of dollars are involved. Expectations become greater. Like it or not, sorry for the long rant, Jason. You guys rock. No worries, man. By the way, unbelievable frame that Spartan 18770 has of the trouble with the snap. I mean, all of his stuff is incredible because he gave me a Kenny Wilkes jersey on my birthday a couple years ago, but he had this frame of the trouble with the snap. It was so cool, man. Anyway.
Good guy. Good. Very good dude.
Don't say his name.
Nope, I'm not going to die.
Where he works.
No, sorry. Yep.
Sorry, I have to preface it.
I had to stop. It was 2 seconds from his home address.
Jesus.
There are 18-year-olds getting huge NIL deals, but not the bulk of players are not in that realm. But they are getting paid, and this is one of the hard things that the players are going to have to realize that they sort of ask for. When you get this, you become professionals. And you can say, well, they're still just college kids, and there's a difference between a college kid and a 22-year-old or 26-year-old pro, and that is true to an extent. You can point out though that like the Chicago Blackhawks defense, their 6 defenders last year were younger than the Western Michigan defense that won a national title. You can point out that like soccer players and tennis players that compete for titles at 19, 20, 21 as professionals. When you are a professional, you are a professional. And the expectation is what happened against UCLA cannot happen. Like, you have to behave like a professional. If you're going to get paid like a professional, you have to behave. And so there's that element of things. Again, I'm not saying things haven't changed. And I'm not saying that the 28 players are the reason. You don't go, man, it'd be nice to make a change now, but it would just be wrong for these 28 players.
28 reasons.
But if there's, what
about 28 quick takes? Maybe you should change it from 3 to 28.
That would be bad.
Sounds catchy.
3 were bad enough. Can you imagine how
28 quick takes? Can you imagine how the complaining couch would do if we had to do 28 quick takes?
I think you guys
would be one word.
People would just realize how limited I am as a writer and thinker. That's what I'd be more worried about, the fraud that I am. Yeah.
DMB, those 28 reasons better step it up and earn a win against Michigan. This is an average Michigan team that is beatable at home if they run Childs, eat clock, and get a little lucky. If J-Bat and the boosters know Smith isn't the guy, it's time to move on now. Don't let other schools' coaching search dictate the timing of your own. Smith coming back next year with the same product would kill J-Bat's credibility and go against why we hired him to begin with.
Yeah, right. But I don't think you. What other people are doing, you dictate. Fix that in post, would you?
Gotcha.
I don't think you let what other people are doing dictate what you're doing, and that includes the other way around. Just because Florida in year 4 under Napier said, "All right, we're sure, and this isn't going to work," and I don't think in year 2 with this group that necessarily is the same situation. And so, again, nobody's saying that he's earned coming back, that it's best for the program, that I think he's coming back. I do not. I do not think Jonathan Smith will be the head coach.
But did Napier have juice after year 2 or in the middle of year 2?
Yeah, I'm not saying these are comparable everywhere around, but you do what's best for you. And what I'm saying is, based on what we saw against Indiana, based on the situation right now, I don't think an in-season move makes sense. If they go out and lose 50-2 against Michigan and they are just getting boat raced and they've quit.
Oh, you got a safety. It builds momentum.
It's a different conversation. If they go to Minnesota a week later and not a great Minnesota team and it's 38-0 and they don't look like they want to be out there and you're going into a bye week, then you're going to make a move. The players will ultimately decide this. If they decide they're done responding to a staff, then that's it. But if they're not, I don't see the advantage of making a move in season. I just don't.
Scotty Green's El Camino, number 1. So we are now at the, hey, the kids really tried hard point. A really sad place to be. Lost by more than 3 touchdowns. But, hey, we didn't play as asses last week. I've never cared less about a football season. Beat Michigan, don't beat Michigan, whatever. 2, the reason I'm done with Smith is who he is, not coaching. Show some emotion. His handling of the Michigan game last year is hard to forgive. And I'm with Jason. This program has no juice. Call Michigan a dirty program. Something. Fucking dry toast. Frustrating. And bonus. I like our hockey team. I like Nightingale. I like winning. It makes me happy. Fuck Jonathan Smith.
You know what the MSU's hockey team has going for it that the football team doesn't? Mm-hmm. Muskox quality flannels.
That's true.
They've got an NIL deal, a sponsorship with Muskox. And they're out wearing Muskox. They feel good. They're confident. They're on the ice. Maybe the football team just needs Muskox flannels. You can feel as confident and look as good as MSU's hockey team by going to gomuskox.com and placing an order today. And again, $15 off your flannel purchase with the promo code Peacock for Couch and the Rube listeners. And this will be the last day of our contest for who needs the Muskox flannel the most of our listeners, where you can send me or tweet an ugly picture of yourself, the ugliest picture you can think of, next to one that shows you in your best light, and we'll make the determination and send and from my winnings from the Cleveland Guardians, winning the AL Central.
Yeah, whatever.
I will send a Muskox flannel of your choice. You'll either go on gomuskox.com, you look around, pick which one you want. I'll get it shipped to you. And also, I'm going to do some a few consolation prizes because there's some really ugly people out there who need help, and we're not. I can't. I didn't win enough to just throw out Muskox flannels around.
Fire up the sweatshop. We got stuff to make.
But maybe some hats or tees, some Muskox hats or tees that make you look good and support the brand for the runners
you're
up.
Going to buy
a couple
some
other
more stuff.
Yeah, a couple other things. Which are available at gomuskox.com.
Must have hit a soccer parlay too, huh?
Yeah, something.
Dan Pagel next. Jay Bad is going to wait for Scum to boat race us next week, then push the easy button as Spartan Nation loses it, demanding the Corvallis crew hit the bricks. And P.S. Does Smith understand that his headset has a working microphone and he is allowed to actively coach from the sideline? And from Jason. All I want to know is, why does it seem like Jonathan Smith rarely uses his headset? And why does it seem like he's not engaged with the team during timeouts? Am I crazy? Feels like 90% of the time he's shown on TV, his microphone is flipped up and he's walking the sideline like the assistant to the assistant quality control coordinator.
We've reached the Brady Hoke era, or Brady Hoke stuff. You know, I mean, that's what people think. And he didn't even wear a headset. But yeah.
I think he proved that you got to have a headset. You got to wear a headset.
It's all for show. Yeah, look, none of this matters if you're winning. It just doesn't. And when you're losing, people are like, what the hell is going on? Why aren't they trying to fix it in game? Why isn't there emotion? Why isn't there... And people want you to be somebody you're not. Who Jonathan Smith is worked at Oregon State. It has not worked at MSU, and the results on the field haven't shown yet. And I don't think he's going to get the opportunity to.
You think he'll go back
to Oregon State?
Yeah.
I don't know that they feel great about the way he left.
Ooh.
So
what else are they going to do though? Might as well.
They're in a tough spot.
It'd be a good marriage.
Yeah. If you're ever thinking about like how bad things are, other than going to gomuskox.com, which can make you feel a whole lot better real quick. I look at Oregon State, look at Washington State. Like, that must suck. If you think about being a fan of a program that went from like being a high major to a mid major overnight,
Look at Penn State.
That sucks. Well, Penn State's not. The two.
Yeah, but it's still crazy that you were minus 290 to make the college football playoff, and you're not even going to do anything. No, you fired your guy. Nate, next, it's going to be hilarious when UCLA wins the Big Ten.
Hold on, give me some Hoff. I want to look at the Big Ten standings.
What, this year? He's not talking about this year. Come on.
And I ride.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
I ride through the city's
Come on.
backside.
Come on.
I see the stars come out of the sky. Yeah, the bright and hollow sky.
All right, so UCLA is 3-1. It would take Indiana and Ohio State losing. But here's the thing: UCLA goes to Indiana this week, and if they were to win at Indiana, all of a sudden the path is there. Now they're not as good as Indiana, so it's not going to happen. But they just beat Maryland. I mean, Maryland's not great, and they beat them at home by 3. So it's a great story what's happened there in the wake of
but look at what
coach
Michigan
firing.
State did against Indiana in the first quarter. I mean, kind of.
There you go.
UCLA gets off to a quick start. Cignetti gets his hands on those hips. Moneybag next. People told me NIL was fine and I couldn't criticize Haller. I think Couch said that. Now I repeatedly hear about how Smith hasn't had the resources. All I want is a respectable team, and it's exhausting to hear excuses for everyone who has their fingerprints on it. And bonus, watching MSU hockey is a consistently great experience and has been since game 1 of this staff. Even in year 1, when we didn't have the talent yet, you could tell that they were well coached. You can't say the same for MSU football.
No, I mean, what's happened with MSU hockey speaks to what
That's
hiring
an Alan Haller hire.
It is, but it also speaks to what a great coach and a great staff can do, right? There is something. That's Kurt Cignetti, 20 years younger, right there, and Adam Nightingale, and not quite the dick you know what I mean. He's a nicer guy than Cignetti overall.
Really good penis.
To Moneybag's earlier point, the idea of the frustration and not having the resources, just wanting a respectable team. I think one of the hard things is there is a chance, and we'll see what happens with this next coach and with the money available to Michigan State. And they ought to be able to rally the donations to be a top 20 program year in and year out. But eventually that has to show itself. And, right now, Michigan State is more of a mid-table Premier League team with mid-table resources that wants to be a top 4, top 6 team. And it's just, some teams over there at least know what they are. And Michigan State's got to show more. I mean, there's got to be more investment for MSU to be that team. And we just haven't seen it yet. And so while I believe it is out there and the potential for it is out there, and I believe maybe not the very top-end dollars. They don't have an Illinois alum who is married to a younger woman who's a Michigan fan giving them, paying for a quarterback. They don't have that stuff going for them. But I do think there's more resources than we're seeing, but eventually it'll have to show itself.
Dr. Patterson next. My take. After the Spartan sweep at number 1 Boston U, MSU hockey is a juggernaut that will win the national championship April 11th in Vegas. And bonus, MSU football will rise up October 25th to beat Michigan at home to cheer up fans and save Coach Jonathan Smith's job. Baked. The Pistons will win the NBA East this season.
Dr. Patterson is a man wearing a Muskox flannel. He's in a good place. I want the Pistons to be fun this year, and it starts this week. I'm worried that the Jaden Ivey injury is going to set back a good look at what they can be. And I don't know. I think they're probably a mid-40s wins team that's going to be in the middle, second round team in the East maybe. But that's probably where they are right now.
Taysom next. MSU fans are exhausting to deal with, saying Smith is a bad coach. He inherited a disaster and needs time and patience to build his team like he did at OSU. The main issue with this team is the lack of talent, not necessarily the coaching. Fans need to understand that no big deal. The portal talent is going to choose MSU over other elite programs. Therefore, Smith had to settle on getting developmental players, and as a result, needs the time for them to develop. Nonetheless, the defense regressed. However, again, lack of talent and injury are the reason. Also, fans need to give Smith credit for developing Childs.
Taysom had more here. I mean, it was quite a chapter written.
Sounds like it.
But it was, and there are developmental wins, and there are guys. I think Childs is taking significant steps from who he was as a quarterback last year. Now he took a couple steps back for a while, but there's no doubt that what you're saying here is true about having to bring in developmental players, and nobody's saying that. Like, if they were just losing games for the Jimmies and the Joes reasons, I think, people may still be skeptical, and it may or may not be the right fit. But, again, the conversation is based on, like, I wasn't going to have this conversation until the UCLA game. That was the game, and I wrote the column beforehand. Like, the world stopped until that game was played. They had to win that game. And not only did they not win that game, they coached. They had, there were some moments there was one particular call that really backfired on them. And then the defense just seemed to give up, and they dropped their heads in the second half. It looked like a program that was about to spiral, and a game that they had to have, and against a team that had already fired its coach that doesn't have significantly more talent than them or anything. Like, those are the moments you can't have, and so that's why we're here. I do think some of the stuff is probably unfair toward him in terms of time, and it might be towards the next coach, and eventually people are just going to have to buy in to whatever coach is there and let them have a moment to try to get this done, even if it takes a minute. But it also would help, and this is, that lack of connection, that lack of really understanding the university and the program and the fan base and how they're feeling, or ability to show that you can understand that and connect. That's been a big part of it too. And if he could do that, and the other stuff wasn't happening. It's a myriad of things. Nothing has worked to this point.
C-Dubs 91 next, hot take. Haller was right about hiring Smith based on his track record of hiring coaches. Smith just needs more resources. It's also asinine that donors pull money because the coach they wanted didn't get hired. Grow up and support your school. If this broke teacher can, so can you. And Baked, if I pay a can deposit, I should be able to get that deposit back wherever I take my cans back, not just where I bought them. I've lost too much money because I'd rather support my local liquor store versus Meijer. But couldn't you shop at Meijer? I mean, could you take them back while you're shopping for groceries,
I guess
and
if it's not
still support your liquor store?
If it's like a Kroger brand, you can't take it back to Meijer. But if it's I don't.
I get what he's saying about just being a 10-cent deposit no matter what. If you pay for the 10-cent deposit, you should be able to take it back wherever, right?
100%.
Yeah.
That should be.
I do get that. But
I get that. That does seem reasonable frustration. Yeah.
Sparty Barb, number one, J-Bat needs to secure a minimum of $100 million in additional revenue for football every year if MSU is to compete for championships. 2, outstanding sweep of Boston by MSU hockey. This team is faster and has more depth than last year. Frozen 4, here we come. And 3, congratulations to the MSU volleyball team for a nice bounce-back win against Maryland on Sunday. This team has heart and tenacity, and they get it from their coach. Bonus. Let Kristen Kelsey give the halftime speech to the football team to inspire them to play 2 halves of football this Saturday.
It's been an impressive start for Kelsey, and somebody who's a young coach who's risen quickly, and did a piece on her heading into that Nebraska game. And Nebraska is just incredible in volleyball. They sell out every game. It's like the epicenter of volleyball. And they one of those, at least one of those sets was pretty competitive. But it's been a good year for that program, because that can be something that people really enjoy, and that can be a program that just part of a good fall experience for Michigan State. It was for a while. It really was till about 2017 was the last time, and it looks like they made a good hire here. And that, again, Alan Haller hire, but the football coach dictates everything. Like, we don't have, we get a little bit of Adam Nightingale here, right? There'll be a lot of Izzo in the basketball season. Every once in a while, you get a Kristen Kelsey shout-out like Sparty Barb right here. But ultimately, what stirs the soul, right, is football, and you have to get those hires right.
Sparty Chemist gives Smith till the end of the 2026 season. Don't fire after 1.5 years.
I don't think it's going to happen. But, there's I don't, before the UCLA game, I didn't think we'd be here. I really didn't. I thought they were going to win that game. I thought they'd be okay this year. I thought they'd get to about 6 wins. I just didn't think this would be a conversation. and it all happened. It happened pretty quick. And I think Michigan State had a couple of commits decommit that week, and that fed into like some real frustration and worry just about momentum and all that stuff. And again, when a kid commits in June, they are not committing to you. They just aren't. And I know a lot of kids wind up staying with their commitment, but then they get wooed by what happens early in the season. Kids are freaking stupid, and when you're 17, we all were there, and you're
rich now,
and you're not actually committing to something if you're then going to take other visits. The second you go on another visit, and this is what D'Antonio did really well, and I don't know if it would play today, but he lost a lot of kids because of it. But when you committed to them, he wanted to make sure you were ready, and if you did, you had to be done taking visits. And if you took another visit, they dropped you. And that they stood by that. They lost some guys because of that. And maybe that. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's the way.
Is there a scenario that happens on Saturday night that turns this fan base around and likes Jonathan Smith? Like, obviously, a win needs to happen, but is there something, you know what I mean? Like a win and then something that's said, pride before the fall, something like D'Antonio's kind of vibe of something like that, right? I know I'm talking about a crazy scenario happening, but
all right. Let me throw this one out there. Michigan State beats Michigan. Looks good doing it. It's a real party. It's like 35-20, 35. Good win. People feel, and
he's going to hold them to 20.
They look competent. Maybe it's 40-27. They look competent. All right. The whole place is going nuts. It's a fun game. He actually, does a fist pump on the sideline at some point. Comes into the post-game press conference, rips off his shirt to debut his new tattoo that says "Fuck Michigan" across his chest.
Okay.
Boom.
All right. Now we're just going reality TV. I'm just making this shit up.
Apparently,
I was trying to actually get a real thing.
All right. Well, so what for you would change it? Is there something for you?
I can't follow that. Rips off his shirt. Like as soon as you said rip off shirt, I'm like, never mind. What are we doing? Jordan Villarreal next. Moving on from Smith right now would be a mistake. This past performance showed potential, but he needs to make staff changes to show he's committed to improvement. And bonus, Sam Leavitt leaving MSU is the biggest miss for this program of the decade.
Yeah, but that miss started with their evaluation of Sam Leavitt and Jonathan Smith's evaluation of him as a high school kid. He chose Aiden Childs over Leavitt. And look, the sad thing for Michigan State, it's sort of like the Folds Cousins thing, right? Who's Foles?
Nick Foles?
Nick Foles. Kirk
Big
Cousins
Dick
thing. Nick. You get two guys that want to be NFL quarterbacks in your program at the same time. You wish those guys came like 3 years apart, and the same here. I mean,
wait, what?
Childs, in other words, you wish Childs and Leavitt weren't like the same class because it's nice having an Aiden Childs in your program. I think Sam Leavitt's probably a slightly better quarterback, but you can see why they were enamored with Aiden Childs, and that ultimately cost them Sam Leavitt.
Doc Sportello next. With the sheer number of coaches being fired, why not hold on to Smith and see what next season's coaching carousel holds? MSU isn't a desirable job right now. Plus, give Jay Batt time to find his guy, too, and Bake Take. Getting baked and listening to Solari rant on Spartan Speak about the chain reaction of events that the Larry Nassar scandal set off had me spooky stoned. Really made me reflect on how instrumental the Mark Hollis firing has been in the downfall of MSU football.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of moments you can go back to. Hollis checking out when things got hot, and I understand that, like, that put all the heat on Izzo. He became the spokesperson for the school, for the whole university. I mean, like, it was a dark time, and Hollis checked out there, and Mark Hollis did a lot of good for MSU athletics for a long time, but that's one of those things where you just, you can't get out.
Izzo.
You can't just run when it gets tough. That's
to the white elephant in the room. They don't want to deal with the white elephant in the room.
Hey, Tom, it's all on you. Thomas, I'm not happy with the defense, but I don't think I've seen any units anywhere in the country playing like a D'Antonio defense used to. There's some great defenses out there, but none in my view that have the same authentic underdog mentality and hunger that made his teams unique.
Yeah, I mean, that was an era of, and maybe I'd be curious to watch what Narduzzi's trying to do these days at Pitt. There's a name for you.
Yeah.
But
exciting.
Well, would people be
donate to that?
People be enthusiastic about Narduzzi Max Bulla coming back?
Now we're talking. You had to add Max Bulla, didn't you? Huh? I mean, come on.
Would people want to watch that?
Is he ready to be a coordinator? I don't know. The Eric Hipple of Southern Maine. Baked. That meaningless field goal late in the game was 100% to screw bettors. Best. When my college football is trash for another season, at least the English football team I support defeated Spurs. Because screw those Americans that chose Tottenham. My love is genuine and true.
Absolutely. Hear, hear. Yeah. By the way, unbelievable. If you like English soccer, you like
I don't.
No, what?
Sorry.
If you like Big Ten football, Big Ten basketball, and you want Peacock, you can get that through Xfinity, by the way. If you go to Xfinity.com, lots of great deals there with a package that best suits you. If you want everything from the SEC network to Turner Classic Movies, whatever it is you love, you want to watch home improvement reality television like me or just Hallmark movies. Xfinity has it all. There's some great deals, and they've got some great deals on Wi-Fi too. You can start up front with save up front with a 1-year pricing, no contract, cancel anytime, $40 a month for the first year on Wi-Fi. Go to Xfinity.com. So if you're paying too much for Wi-Fi, go to Xfinity.com and change that today.
Mark Snyder next. The deal for James Franklin to become MSU's next head coach should be done in time for him to lead the Spartans out of the tunnel on November 15th against Penn State. Mark Snyder. Sorry. Bonus, more Couch in the Rube YouTube content, please. Travel vlogs for Graham and a day in the life in Ovid for Jason would be a hit.
I would watch that.
It would be so boring.
Would it?
It would be me at 3 TVs smoking weed.
People would like that.
I don't really. It's really boring out in Ovid. I love it, but I don't know if it would be entertaining to anyone. I would welcome to come join us out there.
I would watch travel vlogs. Like if they used to make Rex Road when they first started the Hey Joe blog. Joe would have to do these travel vlog type things.
Poor Rex Road. It seems like any job he takes, he gets talked to all these things. He's up at 5 a.m. in Nashville.
He was the guinea pig. Yeah,
I know. Yeah. He had to go on with me when I had that stupid show back in the day where I begged it for Joe to come on.
What was that?
Spartan. It wasn't Spartan Speak. It was Spartan something.
Oh,
and
was it
they
a TV
sold
show?
it. No, it was a radio show. It was when I was with Stout, and they sold this Spartan show on Saturdays. They couldn't find anybody else to host it, so they asked me if I'd do it for $100 a show. And I had no idea. Of course, at that time in your 20s, you're like, oh, you got to do every. I knew it was going to be a fucking disaster. The producer guy didn't even watch sports, so I couldn't even talk to him. So I'd have to, Joe was so freaking nice to me back then. He would come on and humor me and spend 25 minutes before. And this is pregame. You know how Graham complains that he's got to get up and do all of his stuff and he take his picture of his office for the day. Well, Joe Rexroad was on with me, helping me out.
That is a story we're telling.
I definitely owe him dinner or something. Not that he wants to have dinner with me.
He would love to have dinner.
To pay for his dinner.
He would love to have dinner with you. That is a story we're telling, presented by Midtown Brewing Company, a place that you could take Joe for dinner and have an awesome meal. The chef does a great job there. Just love the vibes, love the drinks, love just everything. If you go to their trivia or you're there for anything, for a drink after work, a date night, it's a cozy, spacious, just a good setup at Midtown Brewing Company in downtown Lansing.
C.E. Siginga next. Number 1, if MSU moves on from Jonathan Smith, much of the potential replacement pool comes with the same risks. Don't use Signetti as a comp. He's one of a kind and has a billionaire to help bankroll him. 2, Bat needs to quickly determine if the lack of impact talent on this roster, outside of quarterback, wide receiver, is because the current staff is inherently challenged in acquiring talent, or if it hasn't had the resources to fill holes, and if the issues are fixable. And 3, if the opinion Smith and staff haven't suddenly forgot how to coach and are invested in winning here. However, if Bat determines the issues in take 2 aren't easily fixable, even if that's not Smith's fault, better to move on sooner rather than later.
Yeah, even if Smith winds up not being MSU's coach all that much longer, and I think that's probably the way this is headed, that doesn't mean he's not going to be a good coach somewhere else again, because I think he was a good coach at Oregon State. And the circumstances were difficult here and are difficult at Michigan State. And what's becoming more and more clear is that Michigan State is a place that's best for somebody who sort of has a sense of the place. It doesn't mean you need an alum. There are only so many of those guys who are out there, or somebody who's been the coach there before, only so many of those guys. And people say,
where do you think he would be a fit, though? Like, let me example. Like, would a Big Ten school hire Smith again? Like would a Wisconsin look at Smith and go, we need to talk to him?
Well, I mean, I think probably out west. Again, where he's from, where he was respected for what he did, where he played, where it's a different environment and a different intensity. I think the Oregon State rivalry and the difference between that and Michigan State has something to do with geography and how they think of college football.
If Smith were fired today, would UCLA talk to Jonathan Smith? Do you think they would interview him?
I think UCLA is considering keeping the staff they have in place based on what's happened.
Okay.
So I don't. I don't think so.
But just because they're keeping the staff, like if
no, I don't think right now. I don't think Smith would be the commodity he was a few years ago. But the one thing that I would say to that is, if I were an AD that was curious about Jonathan Smith, I would want to know why things didn't work at Michigan State, and there might be some real blunt answers.
No dang money.
And then I would be also curious because maybe, just maybe, you can make Michigan State pay a salary for a few years and pay him a lot less, and have
the all shucks tax. Richard Kane for the 17th time out of 19 games. Smith and company have been badly outcoached after halftime.
Some of that is true. Some of that is teams wear down. As somebody who covered the MAC when I lived in Kalamazoo, by the way. What often happened in matchups where even Western or whoever had some really good talent offensively or a few guys here and there is eventually you just wear down. And so that looks worse in the second half. That's generally what happens in those games.
Matt C. next. Best take. Here is the data that proves Smith is one of the worst coaches in MSU history. Number 1, 0-5 versus ranked teams with a minus 128-point differential. 2, 3-10 in Big Ten play with a minus 113-point differential in the second half. 3, failed to record a single sack, 7 of 13 Big Ten games. And 4, we've had a 100-yard rusher one time in 13 games and a 100-yard receiver twice. Spot could do better.
Spot the cat is loose.
How is Spot doing?
Spot's doing pretty well.
Still at the house? Have you let Spot out to go back home to the real house? Or?
I got home from Bloomington last night. Did not see Spot this morning.
Ooh.
So I don't know where Spot, but Spot is
pushing a donut through that neighborhood of yours.
So my wife sent a picture hanging out with Spot on Saturday, but it was very brief. Like Spot gets disgruntled quickly when I'm not around. It's like I just go outside. This isn't the same. It's not the same.
Where's the guy with all the crumbs coming off of his flannel?
Yeah, that's what
I need that guy.
Yeah, he likes to rest on the.
This lady knows how to eat. She doesn't drop anything.
He's no idiot. He likes to rest on the sleeve of a muskox. It's.
Why didn't you leave one of your muskox back there on like the couch or something that he could?
That's a good idea. I mean? Good idea.
Jake LeCoyer next. I keep hearing Jonathan Smith doesn't have the resources to compete. Yet no one seems to have actual figures of what MSU does and does not have. Regardless of whether or not top-tier resources are there, Smith is never getting more after showing he can't beat his peers with what he has. Attaboy, Jake. I mean, I agree with him.
That's the challenge now, right, is once you lose momentum and if you don't have the faith of the owner base. Like one of the things I think Smith's biggest problem, it's not Matt C. And it's not Eric Schultz. It's not, somewhat you
Dominic.
You lose
our listeners.
You lose the fan base. That is a problem. But the bigger problem, I think, is I don't think he has a champion within the university right now. I don't. And if we have not.
But then what are we missing when we're watching it? Like, I just don't know how to give this guy more time from what I've seen and what Matt C. just explained in his thing. Like, I go, okay, well then how do I buy into this?
Right. You don't.
You can't.
You don't. They're either going to have to do something extraordinary the rest of the season, which it's not going to happen.
Rip his shirt off at a presser with a fuck Michigan tattattoo.
And win big.
I was like, Graham, how can he get out of this Saturday?
Or this is going to be it. I mean, that's what it is.
Sounds like.
Yeah.
All right, Jay Brew. We have a talent gap. How much does this roster cost, and where does this rank in the Big Ten? Where's the money? And from Corey Ostrom, whether Smith remains a head coach is secondary to whether MSU wants to make the financial commitment necessary to compete in the current college football landscape. He's got his hands tied behind his back with the talent he has or lack thereof.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen every team play in every sort of transitive property matchup, but the defensive talent is certainly in the very bottom tier of the Big Ten. There's no question about that, especially up front. It just and so that's where that is. Offensively, it's a little better, and I do think if their offensive line had stayed a little healthier, the offense itself would look more consistently potent. But and the previous question about how much money there is, and what I mean, that's one of the problems in this era is the lack of transparency. I don't know exactly where they are. I know they were at one point struggling to get to the $15 million of rev share. I believe they got there. They have the money to fill their financial commitments, but they did not have extra, as far as I know, at least going into the season for this roster. And that is a challenge that other schools aren't entirely facing. Some are, though.
Spartan Dog 97, if Smith isn't fired this year, fans should boycott MSU athletics. And yes, that includes men's basketball. That is hot, man.
Well, you have to. This is what I've said about the Tigers. If they don't start spending, you have to stop being happy.
So I have to boycott the Lions? Like, no. I mean, that's not how I do things.
Yeah,
I don't want to do that. I want to watch MSU basketball. What are we talking about? I can't do it.
Well, the difference is it's not the same ownership with the Lions and
so what?
I'm just saying. Like his point is,
you can't do that.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm not. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. This is a hot take.
I don't want to.
Yeah.
Ben Schulich. I don't think Jonathan Smith took this job because he wanted to be at Michigan State. He took it because of Oregon State was about to be left behind with the dismantling of the old Pac-12. His body language hasn't showed he is excited to be here. Should have been a red flag. Oh, what are you supposed to do? Like dry hump the air, though? Like, I mean, to show that you're excited to be here?
Yeah, I mean, his personality is what it is. And yeah, I mean, so if you're not,
have you seen his birthday shout out to George Blaha? I mean, I know you have to love George Blaha. And it just, when I heard it, it was like, man, it's like, oh, okay.
But you're right. I don't know if Oregon State was, if the Pac-12 is still going to exist and he could have stayed at Oregon State with what he built. I don't know that he makes this move.
Plus, Michigan State made an offer of way more money, I guess, than Oregon State could offer, right?
Well, yeah, but it was just, I mean, Oregon State's going to be a mid-major program now. A high mid-major, could be a good mid-major, but they're going to play in a different level. And they no longer have the opportunity to win at the highest level. And you can argue Michigan State isn't showing any signs of it either, but the conference affiliation is a big deal.
All right, MCV, number one, Alan Haller, after going through the Larry Nassar, ESPN, and Mel Tucker situations, was looking for a head coach who could be good for MSU's image more than the best fit, whether he was aware of it or not. And baked, not all douchebags are back your car into a parking space guy, but all back your car into a parking space guys are douchebags. And two, the timing is not good this year for MSU to be in a coaching search. Too many high-profile jobs are opening up.
Put those in reverse order. Sorry there.
That's a good way to break it up.
Do you have an issue with back your car in a parking space guy?
Yes, if it's back your car, because I'm someone that backs my car into the ramp here downtown, and I do it at home, but that is just to make it easier for me to get out of both. But if I go to a Walgreens or something, I don't have to back my car into, I think that's what he's talking about. There's the guys that have to back into every single parking spot. I can't imagine that. Yeah. By the way, Rico Beard is that guy. By the way,
is he really?
Yeah, Rico Beard is back into everywhere guy.
What the hell is that about?
Well, I mean,
I don't understand.
Well, that's what he said.
I've never been back your car in it.
Never, ever?
I don't.
I mean,
it's possible that I've been like going someplace, concert type thing, or you go to the Wharton Center, for example, to go see a musical, Les Mis or something in town.
Of course, that'd be something boring.
Les Mis is phenomenal.
Jesus.
The best. But it's like the parking structure there. Everybody leaves together at the same time. If you're facing out, it's easier to get out. But I'm somebody who's very cognizant. If I were to do that, and I've only done it a few times, I don't do it if there are a lot of cars already getting there to park, because then everybody's waiting while you do this little 3-point thing and get yourself situated.
If you're good at backing in, it doesn't take that long. I'm talking if you're going to QD or something, or Groovy Donuts to pick up some donuts and you're backing in your car. Come on, dude. Unless you're a police officer, I guess. Those guys do that all the time. Brian McDonald. Jonathan Smith is a good football coach with the worst MSU roster I've seen since 2006. He's had a real NIL AD since June. Let's be the program that gives a good coach time and money to build something. This team's over-under was 5.5, and he may win 5. Why are we stunned?
Well, there's a natural impatience that's going to happen given where the program was. That was always going to be there. And I think that would have been fair to push back against if there had been other signs of real growth. We just haven't seen it. And yes, the roster isn't very good. But think about the Nebraska game. Like, just think about what we watched there, and coming off a bye, and again, it's this won't be entirely fair when he's let go. This won't be about what's fair. Now he'll be well compensated, but ultimately you have to not make. If you know somebody, if they obviously Alan Hallett didn't know this wasn't going to be a fit. I thought it was a good hire when it happened, but ultimately the front end is not making the mistake of somebody who doesn't fit. And that's the key. That's the key. Make the decision on the front end that's correct. Sorry, I'm mixing words. I'm doing a Jonathan Smith here. I'm all over the place.
Oh, shucks.
Doing my Yoda voice. Anyway.
Look at the ocean.
In the old days, that would be fine. The problem today is you have to have momentum. It's not like, let's just see what he can do with next year's team. How do you create a next year's team that wins? To do that, you need resources from people who are willing to fund the program and have to be energized by it. And so, you need to be able to recruit at a level with people who believe in the program that's going to allow you to do so. Those things aren't really there right now. If this was 2017, we would not have this conversation. It might be a lot of doubts, a lot of frustration, but there would be not this conversation about the idea that he wouldn't be back next year.
Nestle's Quick Hotel next. Smith has one chance to extend his tenure past Thanksgiving. Beat Michigan. Lose badly, and he'll be gone the next day. Cover, and maybe they'll give him a chance to get right after many. And from David P. Smith can undo a lot of wrongs by beating Michigan. There's a fair amount of Spartan Nation who is content with 4 and 6 wins if one of them is against scum. And bonus, we could actually lose the game and still win back the fan base if he gets in front of a mic and says, fuck those guys.
I don't think he'll win back the fan base, but people would enjoy the moment.
I would play it forever. Fuck those guys.
Yeah.
Good ball club, but fuck those guys. Oh, please.
I also don't think. I don't know that you want Michigan to be what knocks your coach out too. I think that's, again, if it goes.
What we talked about last week.
Yeah,
that's what I mean.
Yeah, especially a week later, they're at Minnesota, and then there's a bye week, and again, they could win against a not great Minnesota team.
He's coaching the rest of the season, right?
I would think so. I think there are two pivot points here. One is the end of the season. You make that move. It's possible you make the announcement going into the final game, but I don't think you do that. I think it's the end of the season, or it's going into the bye week when you have an extra week to prepare, going into the Penn State game after the Minnesota game, and so you evaluate how everything looks. You take it all into account, and if it's looking more like it did against UCLA the next 2 weeks, then maybe you do something. But if it's not, then I don't think you're doing something.
Graham Stout next. Number 1, there is a non-zero chance that Michigan State will not only cover Saturday night against Michigan, but win outright. If I were a betting man, and I very much am, I would put everything on Michigan State, including some money line sprinkles. Damn, 2009 Graham bet here?
Well, no, that'd be the other way. The other way would 2009 bet would be the idea of like taking Michigan on the money line.
That's valid. Sorry, I forgot. I forgot about the rules of your bet.
Yeah.
Sorry. 2, there is also a non-zero chance that they will not cover and thus lose outright. The thing about football is you kind of know it when you see it. And if you have a little something to you, like some juice, for example, you can look at your opponent and say, lunch. Forgot about lunch.
Oldie but goodie.
Oh, man, I forgot about lunch. 3, bring that back this basketball season. 3, I don't believe Jonathan Smith has gotten a fair shake. Speaking of, for a limited time, Groovy Donuts will be having a Jonathan Smith Fair Shake donut.
Love it.
It's a dry, tasteless cake donut that everyone hates, covered in vanilla shake flavored icing with nothing as a filling.
I don't think Groovy Donuts would be cool with that. It doesn't sound great.
Yeah, you can't make it dry.
Yeah.
No one wants a dry donut.
They don't do that. They don't do bad donuts at Groovy Donuts.
No. Couch on fire. I barely care. Didn't even watch the Indiana game, but on a hunch, I'd take the points against Michigan this week. They'll either have an interim coach or one last hurrah for Smith. No more Smiths, he says, to rally around. And baked, Stevie I escapes getting fired by this year's team.
Red Wings look good so far.
I'm sorry, who?
Buenos tardes. It is time for the Detroit Red Wings Gambling Update with Gramanito Couch and Jason Lee.
Just wanted to play that.
5 straight wins, 10 points, top of the Atlantic Division. Good stuff.
You need to start gambling?
Well, I put a little bit on there to make the playoffs before the season because the odds were good, and it was kind of a fun way to have that. The Michigan State points, like I think the line's up to 14 now, so it's a full 2 touchdowns. I think that's about right. Like I expect it to be more competitive than the Indiana game. What did Michigan beat Wisconsin? It was like 24-10. That was at
Michigan. But now I know Smith cares about the spread. I mean, you're kicking field goals down 28. I obviously knows now. So I'm saying I'm jumping all over this 14 and if it's a hook, give me that.
If it gets up to a 14 and a hook, you might be a little. Yeah, I mean it's
even 14. I didn't know he cared so much about the spread.
I think if you want to have a little something on MSU, maybe tease it up a little bit, just to be sure.
Jesus.
Or just
so what?
Do the money
3
line.
Touchdowns?
Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't think it'll. I do think it'll be a competitive game for a while. I do because I don't think Michigan's offense is that well rounded, and they're better at the point of attack. If they're healthy at running back, that'll make a big difference. But like they're not Indiana. And Michigan State hung in there for a while. Michigan State's going to need its offense to save its defense against Michigan. That's what it needs. And then Michigan having a young quarterback and having some flaws there to turn it over or kind of kick itself or whatever for a little bit.
McNick next. Netflix ruined college sports. Without it, Netflix being used as a proxy for streaming in general, TV money for live sports doesn't grow exponentially the way it has. Coaches' salaries don't rise at such a point that morally the NCAA isn't forced to permit the wild west of unlimited free transfer and unregulated NIL. Coaches are making plenty, but not so egregiously that common sense compensation and transfer policies slowly come into place. Some semblance of a program building, continuity, and attachment to the players persists.
There was more here, and it was also pretty good. But McNick, I just tell you, man, I can't do a whole chapter here. But you make a good point, and like there are elements of this changing world that is. I mean, it's just not fun. Everything's about money now, and it always was to a degree. But we were able to lie to ourselves, right? Because the players weren't paid, and it was easier to do this. That whole thing was more financially viable for a lot of people. And that the screwy thing about college football is. And college sports in general, but college football especially, college basketball to a degree. We had this oppressive system for a long time, but we loved it. And now we have this is the backlash. This is what happens when you do that, and we don't love it. This would not work if this is how college sports began. People just wouldn't be that into it, but they've got us hooked. You know, it's kind of like a heroin, and there's no doubt that like the way things are now, and the way that TV and that money drives everything, and the need to find more and more cash. It's not making it an appealing situation. And, you know, hopefully in 5-10 years it looks a little different and everybody knows what's what and it seems sustainable, but this is not fun.
You want to take a quick break here?
Yeah, we'll take a real quick break. When we come back, we got more of your takes. Couch in the Rube, our Monday show presented by our friends at Muskox Quality Flannels.
Firekeeper's Online Casino and Sportsbook is the site to play. From your phone, tablet, or laptop. Get in on all the football action with pre- and in-game wagering. There's showdowns every week in football that you can't miss. Plus, the college and pro hoops are red hot, and the pucks are cool. Get your first casino deposit and sports wager matched up to $500 each. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older and located in Michigan. Gambling problem? Call the Michigan Problem Gambling Helpline at 1-800-270-7117. Where else can you cheer on your team, enjoy a mouth-watering burger or savory sushi, sip on handcrafted cocktails, or one of 46 beers on tap? Take your game day or date night to Cask & Company Kitchen Bar or Front 43 Neighborhood Pub near Frandor. 2 amazing places with 1 awesome blended modern American-Asian menu. Catch the game on one of 30 60-inch TVs or stop in for the all-you-can-eat lunch buffet. Enjoy happy hour or elevate your night out at Cask & Company or Front 43 on East Saginaw in Lansing. Ever wonder how comfortable you can be and how good you can look? Put on a Muskox flannel and find out. Muskox has new arrivals for this fall, including the Caper Green Grand Flannel, which even makes couch look good. Muskox is a Detroit-based flannel company that creates soft and durable flannels made to last a lifetime. They become a great partner with Couch in the Rube, not just because they make us look good and feel good, but because they're good people too, and a socially conscious company. For every $100 purchase, $10 is donated to the Alaska Wildlife Conservation. Muskox flannels are designed with 100% cotton that is ethically sourced and double brushed for softness. Feel the quality and comfort of a Muskox flannel by ordering at GoMuskox.com. where Couch and the Rube listeners can enjoy $15 off their flannel purchase with the promo code HOFF.
Find Couch and the Rube podcasts on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Google Podcasts, CastBox, and the Rube's favorite podcast addict.
Couch and the Rube, our Monday afternoon show presented by our friends at Muskox Quality Flannels. Look, feel your best. Go to gomuskox.com, and I'm telling you, if you're going to be at any sort of gathering or just want to exist in total comfort, go muskox.com. Peacock is the promo code for $15 off. We're going to have to jump ahead and skip a few, and I apologize. We're not going to get to everybody today. We'll figure out whether that fits into Wednesday. We've got a little bit of limited time on the back end here, but let's pick them up.
Dan Grafe, number one, players feel the restlessness from fans. MSU has played their best games this season on the road. And two, Graham loves DCs that give up a ton of yards and points, but are nice to him and other media members. Three, fans don't want to hear excuses about talent when the coaches recruit and develops the talent. MSU fans weren't asking for a playoff season. Most were asking for a bowl season and to look competent. That's not about the talent, but about coaching and bonus. All of MSU's success came when the head coach had a history with MSU. Every time they hire someone with zero MSU ties, it ends badly.
I do love bad coaches that treat me well. That's sort of my thing. But there is something to this from Dan on the idea that in outside coaches like Perlis, MSU ties, been at MSU. Saban comes back, had been under Perlis at MSU. D'Antonio had been under Saban, right? You sort of see it. John L. Smith didn't work. This Jonathan Smith isn't likely to work here, and so there is that argument. Now, what does that look like now? Like, go back and how long D'Antonio was around. If you want somebody like that, I mean, you want Pat Narduzzi, because everybody else who is in that realm, and that doesn't mean there aren't other guys out there, and once things sort of become more and more clear, I shouldn't say more and more clear, but when things are more and more final, we'll get into names and stuff like that. But like, there aren't that many guys out there. But there are those who understand MSU. A guy like Narduzzi, would he be good at 60 years old coming in and younger than Cignetti, and still want the job and have a fire for it? And I don't know. I do think, though, having some sort of connection or roots in the Big Ten or having been around the Midwest and around the program is important. Whether it's MSU specifically, I don't know if that's a necessity.
Mojo Jojo, warm take. The wave of firings year over year is going to break the pay scale and budgets for college football. It was already ridiculous, but when you're breaking off $30 million for Smith, $50 for Franklin, $75 for Norvell, and who knows how much for Moore, something's got to give. Is that true? Norvell got $75?
That's amazing. I didn't realize it was that much. But
damn.
Oh, and Norvell he hasn't been fired yet, right? So it would just be that if they did it. It's Florida State, but they basically said they're going to make a decision at the end of the year. They came out today and said, they weren't going to fire him in season. This isn't sustainable. And the problem is everybody acts like, well, then, pay these coaches less, and that may be where it's headed eventually. But you're still in a competitive market for these guys. If you're Michigan State and you want to make the statement, we're not going to pay what coaches, then you're just going to get a lesser coach probably. Like it's hard for most of these schools to make that stand. It's a tricky spot.
John Naughty next. College football sucks. I mean, really sucks. Super douche pregame hosts, except Nick Saban and Urban. Overhyped games. Cartoonish announcers. Over animated players. Garbage on-field product in swift decline. It doesn't even feel like a sport anymore. College football feels like a satire making fun of college football. It's bad comedy unto itself. And two, so much time is spent talking about college sports, we sometimes forget about academics. MIT offers deserving students a chance to earn a pirate certificate. If this existed when you were 18, is there any chance you would have been a journalist when you could have been a pirate?
Pirate does sound nice. If I had to redo this
at MIT again, though.
Yeah. First of all, I couldn't get into MIT, so that takes it.
You just need to try.
I'm pretty sure they would have looked at my Sexton High School transcript and said, "Yeah, you can F off."
All right. Rich Zeri, number one. Smith said in his post-game presser that the loss was a matter of misalignments and losing one-on-ones. After all this time, they don't know how or where to line up. The one-on-ones were obvious as we saw so many mistakes again. Why can't we teach basic tackling? And 2, Couch and I agree that you'll have a hard time building a line through the portal, yet young recruits aren't physically ready to be dominant coming in. So how do you fix the line play? This is where I have a hard time blaming the coaching. And 3, Smith won't be fired until the end of the season if he's fired at all.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a decent chance that it makes to the end of the season. We talked about that. Yeah, no, look, nothing looks good right now. I don't know. There are reasons to be concerned about the staff beyond just the talent that's on the field. Let's move down to G.E. Miller. I want to get a couple hoops ones in before we get out.
Number 1, when your defensive coordinator has you longing for the days of Chris Smeland, it's time to make a move. If Rossi is a good coach, then we truly have the worst talent in the FBS. This team can't align, can't properly tackle, and can't win one-on-one battles. All of that falls on him. And 2, we're hearing about Izzo wanting separation between Fort and Tang at the 2 spot. Uh-oh. When have we heard this before? This is a middle-of-the-pack squad if we don't have good shooting and scoring from the 2 position.
I think they're different players, and he's they have different strengths. What you got with Kurt Tang is a guy who defensively I think he has gotten better, but that is an area they need him to be good at. And same for Trey Fort, who athletically can do all that stuff, but hasn't been in a system that demanded the type of defense they play here. They took a lot of chances as the last stop at Samford. I mean, I think it's when you get a guy who's like 6 years into their college career and it's been different defense, and this is what they want. I think it's been a challenge. I think he's talking mostly defensively. I don't see. We'll start to see it this week. Exhibition game Thursday, then at UConn next Tuesday. So we'll start to see it.
Professor next. Kurt Tang will average 10 points a game. And bonus, where did Jason train to do his voice impressions? Is he a big Frank Caliendo fan? I'm the professor. Here, I hold my glasses. I'm the professor. Is that good?
I think you're great at them. I think you don't have enough confidence for how good you are. I think your Mike Krzyzewski is one of the classics of all time. Yeah.
No. What are you talking about? Jeff Haddis. Number 1, Jonathan Smith not only will be fired, but will win 10 games next season because Jay Batt will use half his buyout money to fund a decent roster. And 2, Izzo is a 6'7" shooter away from a natty. All right, let's find him.
Yeah, no,
where are they at?
Yeah, no, this MSU basketball team is going to be interesting. And some people think they're going to be middle of the pack. I picked them to finish 4th. I think they got enough returning. But they do have to have certain guys emerge. Like, it can't be the guys who are returning last year looking the same.
Jay Riemenschneider, Big Ten basketball teams, top to bottom, will be demonstrably better than Big Ten football teams are this year. Bonus, Graham, you saying all college football teams should get used to going 4-8 every now and again is nonsense. Ohio State, Georgia, Bama, etc. will never suffer a losing season. Not in today's college football world. And if they potentially do, the coach is gone instantly.
I don't know if that's the case. I think I would bet you, I don't know what I bet you, maybe a Muskox flannel, that within 10 years, Ohio State, Georgia, and Bama all have a losing season at some point. And whether they fire a coach will be whether they have good leadership or whether it's the right coach to fire at that point. But I think people will start getting used to that one down year. And it's also how much credibility you had. Mark D'Antonio could handle 3-9 because he'd just gone 35-6. You can handle a down year if the staff believes in who you are and you can communicate it well.
Dark Mantonio. The NCAA recognizes the conference basketball tourney winner as winner of the conference, not the regular season winner. Now I see why the Big East and ACC go all in on their tourneys. Another example why we need trophies and recognition for the regular season and postseasons for all pro and college sports.
Yeah, I mean, you choose though. I mean, you can not have a conference tourney and they'll recognize the regular season champion. You can choose who. That's up to the conference. And so, but yeah, I think one of the great things college basketball has and Big Ten basketball has is this regular season that has meaning. I think it sucks in the ACC when you're just wasting time for 2 months and that's not the champion. I think that's stupid. I think it's absolutely dumb.
Am I jumping anybody here? Or what do we
do? I'm sorry. Let's jump to let's go with Jake and Upper Deck Jerk Guy.
Jake Hawkins, number 1. I took a weekend getaway to Marquette to spend time with family. Told myself I wouldn't care to watch any of MSU Indiana, but was able to watch the first half, and that was it. Thank God it was only on Peacock. so I could have a much better game, Ole Miss, Georgia, on the TV in my hotel room. 2, the struggles under Jonathan Smith are making me really wish MSU would have gotten the guy I was all in on 2 years ago, Mike Elko. I'm not saying he would have had MSU where Texas A&M is now, but would look better than this. Hell, I'm convinced that Elko would have been Mark D'Antonio 2.0. And 3, MSU should put themselves on the long list of Division 1A Power 4 conference schools that should not only kick their own asses, but shove their own foots as far up their own asses will go for overlooking and not giving Kurt Signetti a chance 2 years ago.
I'll tell you this about Elko, too. I mean, if Michigan State had Texas A&M's defensive line, they would have a lot more wins this year. It would look a whole lot different. And that's the money that's there. And Elko made a good choice going there. I'm not sticking up for Smith on that front, but they don't have the dudes, and that's not really a fair comparison.
Upper Deck Jerk guy, Smith should be given more time, but one of the things he needs to do is take a look at position coaches and coordinators and make some changes. Can have the D'Antonio loyalty to underperforming coaches. And bonus, isn't it just weird how math works? I mean, everything just adds up.
That's sort of the thing. Unless you're me in high school, I never seem to quite add up. Unless I was sitting next to the right person who I could copy their work. That was the way to go. We appreciate all of you. Apologize those who didn't get to. We'll see if that fits into the Wednesday show or not. We just had a lot of them today, and that means the world to us that you guys care enough to produce our show for us. And thanks so much. And we appreciate Muskox. Go to gomuskox.com. Again, get your flannel submissions in. You can email them, or your flannel submissions, your photo submissions, your ugliest photo, your best-looking photo. You can email them to me. You can tweet at us. You can DM me if you tweet at us. You can also tweet with Couch in the Room, hashtag Couch in the Room, Muskox. And we've gotten a few good ones, and we'll make that decision here shortly. We appreciate Xfinity. Go to xfinity.com. We appreciate Midtown Brewing Company. We will talk to you Wednesday. Good show, man.
Yeah, man.
Couch in the Room.